When we think of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, we often remember him as a charismatic leader, a symbol of hope and youth who led the United States through one of its most tumultuous periods in the 20th century. Kennedy's image has become iconic, captured in grainy black and white photos and memorialized in history books. From his inspiring speeches to his tragic assassination, JFK remains one of the most discussed presidents in American history. But beyond the public persona lies a more complex individual. In this video, we're going to explore 5 surprising facts about John F. Kennedy that may change the way you think about him. When most people think of John F. Kennedy, they picture the politician and statesman. His youthful vigor and charm often masked a deeper strength that went beyond politics. While JFK's leadership during his presidency is often discussed, less known is the fact that Kennedy was an outstanding athlete. During his time at Harvard University, he excelled in sports, particularly swimming. In fact, he was the captain of Harvard's swim team, a role that required both physical prowess and leadership qualities. JFK's competitive spirit in the water was notable. He was not just a casual athlete. He was a dedicated swimmer who pushed himself to excel despite physical challenges. Kennedy swam long distances, often battling the pain of his underlying health issues, which we'll discuss later in this video. His tenacity in sports reflected his ability to persevere, something that would serve him well in his political career. This athletic background shaped JFK's sense of discipline and determination, characteristics that became defining traits in his political life. Even during World War II, when he served as a naval officer, Kennedy's athleticism saved his life and the lives of others. His physical strength, gained through years of swimming, allowed him to pull injured comrades to safety after their boat was attacked. The incident with PT-109 made him a war hero, and it's a testament to the kind of physical and mental toughness that Kennedy cultivated throughout his life. JFK's connection to sports went beyond his personal achievements. He understood the importance of physical fitness and even promoted the idea of staying fit to the American public during his presidency. In one of his speeches, he famously said, "Physical fitness is not only one of the most important keys to a healthy body, it is the basis of dynamic and creative intellectual activity." In this way, Kennedy's athleticism wasn't just a personal attribute, it became a national message during his administration. John F. Kennedy is often remembered as a beacon of hope and a symbol of American optimism during a time of uncertainty. His speeches, like the famous "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," inspired millions and defined a generation. Kennedy's charm and charisma helped him connect with people from all walks of life, creating an image of a leader who represented youthful idealism and progress. But beneath this public persona, Kennedy's personal life was far more complicated. He was known to have engaged in numerous extramarital affairs, some of which have become part of the lore surrounding his legacy. Perhaps the most famous of these affairs was with actress Marilyn Monroe, a Hollywood icon whose own life was marked by tragedy and mystery. Monroe's sultry rendition of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" at a 1962 Democratic fundraiser is one of the most iconic moments in American pop culture history. The relationship between Kennedy and Monroe has been the subject of much speculation, with some suggesting it was more than just a fleeting encounter. While the exact nature of their relationship remains somewhat unclear, it is well documented that JFK had a pattern of infidelity. Other women in Kennedy's life included White House staffers, journalists, and socialites. His relationships with these women were kept secret from the public for the most part, but those close to him were aware of his behavior. The contrast between Kennedy's public image as a devoted husband and his private life filled with affairs is a striking example of how complex his character was. cause. Many historians argue that his relationships with women did not diminish his political achievements, but they do complicate our understanding of the man. It also speaks to a larger issue of how public figures are often idealized, with their personal flaws hidden behind their accomplishments. John F. Kennedy is often remembered as a beacon of hope and a symbol of American optimism during a time of uncertainty. His speeches, like the famous "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," inspired millions and defined a generation. Kennedy's charm and charisma helped him connect with people from all walks of life, creating an image of a leader who represented youthful idealism and progress. But beneath this public persona, Kennedy's personal life was far more complicated. He was known to have engaged in numerous extramarital affairs, some of which have become part of the lore surrounding his legacy. Perhaps the most famous of these affairs was with actress Marilyn Monroe, a Hollywood icon whose own life was marked by tragedy and mystery. Monroe's sultry rendition of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" at a 1962 Democratic fundraiser is one of the most iconic moments in American pop culture history. The relationship between Kennedy and Monroe has been the subject of much speculation, with some suggesting it was more than just a fleeting encounter. While the exact nature of their relationship remains somewhat unclear, it is well documented that JFK had a pattern of infidelity. Other women in Kennedy's life included White House staffers, journalists, and socialites. His relationships with these women were kept secret from the public for the most part, but those close to him were aware of his behavior. The contrast between Kennedy's public image as a devoted husband and his private life, filled with affairs, is a striking example of how complex his character was. Many historians argue that his relationships with women did not diminish his political achievements, but they do complicate our understanding of the man. It also speaks to a larger issue of how public figures are often idealized, with their personal flaws hidden behind their accomplishments. One of the defining moments of John F. Kennedy's presidency was his handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962. The world watched in fear as the United States and the Soviet Union stood on the brink of a nuclear war. Kennedy's calm and calculated approach during this tense 13-day standoff is often praised as one of his greatest achievements. His ability to negotiate a peaceful resolution to the crisis without triggering a catastrophic war cemented his reputation as a strong and capable leader. However, behind the scenes, Kennedy's health was deteriorating, and he was regularly taking a cocktail of drugs to manage his chronic pain and other ailments. Kennedy suffered from severe back pain, the result of injuries sustained during World War II, and a congenital condition that worsened over time. To cope with the pain, Kennedy was prescribed a variety of medications, including powerful painkillers like codeine, Demerol, and methadone. In addition to painkillers, Kennedy also took amphetamines to boost his energy and focus. These stimulants were commonly prescribed at the time for a range of conditions, but they also came with significant side effects, including anxiety and mood swings. Kennedy's use of these drugs has raised questions about how they may have affected his judgment, particularly during critical moments like the Cuban Missile Crisis. Dr. Max Jacobson, known as Dr. Feelgood, was one of Kennedy's physicians and was notorious for administering amphetamine injections to his high-profile patients. Jacobson's treatments were not widely known at the time, and Kennedy's reliance on these drugs was kept secret from the public. Despite the risks associated with this drug regimen, Kennedy continued to fulfill his presidential duties, often masking the extent of his physical suffering. The fact that Kennedy was able to maintain such composure and make critical decisions during events like the Cuban Missile Crisis, all while dealing with intense physical pain and a reliance on drugs, speaks to his resilience. However, it also adds a layer of complexity to his leadership, as it raises questions about the extent to which his drug use may have influenced his behavior and decision-making. Throughout his presidency, John F. Kennedy projected an image of youthful energy and vitality. His good looks, athleticism, and charismatic personality all contributed to the perception that he was in excellent health. However, behind this facade, Kennedy struggled with a number of serious health problems, some of which were life-threatening. The most significant of these was Addison's disease, a rare condition that affects the adrenal glands and impairs the body's ability to regulate essential hormones. Kennedy was diagnosed with Addison's disease in the 1940s, long before he became president. The condition left him vulnerable to fatigue, weight loss, and a compromised immune system, making him more susceptible to infections and other illnesses. Addison's disease was a closely guarded secret during Kennedy's political career. Had the public known the full extent of his health issues, it could have seriously jeopardized his chances of winning the presidency. To manage his Addison's disease, Kennedy was treated with cortisone and other medications that helped him maintain his physical strength. However, these treatments came with side effects, including bloating and changes in his appearance, which Kennedy worked hard to conceal. Additionally, he suffered from chronic back pain, for which he underwent multiple surgeries, including one that nearly killed him due to post-operative complications. Despite these health challenges, Kennedy refused to let them interfere with his responsibilities as president. His ability to endure physical pain and illness while maintaining a public image of strength is one of the more remarkable aspects of his presidency. However, it also raises questions about the pressures placed on public figures to appear invulnerable, even when they are dealing with serious health issues. One of the enduring legacies of John F. Kennedy's presidency is his commitment to the Apollo space program, which ultimately led to the first human landing on the moon in 1969. Kennedy's famous speech in 1961, where he proclaimed that America would put a man on the moon before the decade was out, inspired a generation and galvanized the country's efforts in the space race against the Soviet Union. The moon landing became a monumental achievement not only for the United States, but for all of humanity, and JFK's name remains closely tied to that historic success. However, what is often overlooked is the fact that Kennedy was not initially enthusiastic about space exploration. In the early days of his presidency, Kennedy viewed space as less of a priority compared to other pressing issues such as the Cold War and domestic economic concerns. His focus was on practical matters like national security and international diplomacy. It wasn't until the Soviet Union's successful launch of cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, the first human to travel into space, that Kennedy recognized the importance of the space race in terms of national prestige and geopolitical competition. In a sense, Kennedy's embrace of the Apollo program was as much a political calculation as it was a scientific or exploratory ambition. He saw space exploration as a way to demonstrate American technological superiority during the Cold War and to rally national pride. Kennedy's push for the Apollo program was driven by the belief that if the U.S. could beat the Soviets to the moon, it would be a powerful statement of American ingenuity and strength. Kennedy's initial reluctance and eventual commitment to space exploration showcase his ability to adapt to the changing priorities of the time. While he may not have been naturally drawn to space science, he understood its symbolic importance and the role it could play in asserting American dominance on the global stage. This shift in attitude is a testament to his pragmatic leadership and his ability to recognize the broader implications of technological achievement. Ultimately, his decision to support the Apollo program cemented his legacy as a forward-thinking leader, even though he did not live to see the moon landing. In conclusion, John F. Kennedy was a far more complex figure than his public image often suggests. Known for his youthful charisma, political savvy, and leadership during key moments in American history, Kennedy's legacy has become almost mythic. However, as we've seen through these 5 surprising facts, there was much more to JFK than meets the eye. Behind the image of the confident and optimistic leader was a man dealing with personal flaws, health struggles, and political pressures that were often hidden from public view. From his time as an accomplished athlete at Harvard to his secret battles with chronic health conditions, Kennedy's life was filled with contrasts. His personal relationships, including his high-profile affairs, reveal a private life that was often at odds with his polished public persona. At the same time, his leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis, despite being heavily medicated, demonstrated his resilience and ability to handle global crises under immense pressure. Kennedy's journey from a president initially indifferent to space exploration to the visionary who launched the Apollo program highlights his ability to pivot and adapt in response to global challenges. His legacy in space exploration remains one of his most significant contributions, symbolizing America's technological ambition and determination to lead on the world stage. Yet, Kennedy was not without his vulnerabilities. His serious health issues, including Addison's disease, and his use of painkillers and amphetamines, showed that even someone with an image of invincibility had to contend with personal hardships. His perseverance through these difficulties, while presenting a facade of vitality, further underscores his complex nature. In the end, Kennedy was a man of contradictions, a leader who inspired hope and optimism, but faced personal struggles and made difficult decisions under the weight of his own limitations. He remains one of the most studied and admired figures in American history, and these surprising facts about him add new layers to our understanding of who he truly was. So, the next time you think of John F. Kennedy, remember that he was not just the charming and charismatic leader who promised a new frontier. He was also a man who faced his own set of personal and political challenges. Thank you for watching, and if you found these facts about JFK intriguing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into history's most fascinating figures.